Awake. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all well. In this video we are going to be reviewing Awake, which is a science fiction survival action horror movie which was trending #1 globally on Netflix. And this movie is really terrifying as it looks at a dystopian world where people are unable to sleep, which is a truly chilling concept, especially after the pandemic, where people have fallen in love with sleeping and know the value and the benefits of it as well. With all of that being stripped away, I just feel like this movie is really interesting conceptually, especially looking at the impact that these characters have when they're not able to sleep. You know, that being said, it's not a perfect movie. The beginning bits of this film are really slow, really weak. They could have really been improved so much more, and I will be talking about that later on in this movie. But you know, that being said, it is a pretty gripping movie, and I'm going to be breaking it all down for you in this movie review. So we are introduced to the lead character of Gill, who is a single mother and a recovering drug addict as well. And we are introduced to her two kids too, who are Noah and Matilda. And one day the world's electronics and electricity completely stop working. And if that wasn't enough, people are unable to go to sleep as well, apart from Gill's daughter Matilda. The film then explores whether or not these characters are able to survive this movie against a number of horrific challenges. Now, from a positives point of view, I really love these kind of movies where they really examine what humans would do in these life or death type situations, where they truly throw away the idea of working together as a team and all in it together. Whereas instead of this, everybody is really out for themselves and truly desperate in this situation, which I think is really fascinating. Also, like I said before, the sleep deprivation side of this storyline is really interesting. The film definitely did their research as they look at the impact day by day of what would happen to human beings when they cannot go to sleep, and what would happen to their mental state and their physical state as well. This movie also is pretty emotional as well. There are a number of scenes in this movie that definitely pull on your heartstrings, and like I said before as well, there are a number of challenges that these characters face, and I think it's really interesting that this movie did kind of cover all of the bases in terms of the different scenarios that these characters would encounter in order to survive. However, that being said, from a negatives point of view, like I said before, the first 20 to 30 minutes of this movie is a bit of a mess, as they could have done a much better job in terms of really grabbing the audience while building everything so much more effectively and really introducing the lead character. I mean, they show that she's a bit of a drug addict and she's selling drugs, but that doesn't really go anywhere, and instead they really do a bit of a light touch job in terms of introducing her horrible boss. This character does appear much later on in the movie, and they could have done a much better job if in the beginning they really did the foundation setting for why Gill doesn't really like this character, which would have paid off a lot more effectively later on in this movie. And also they could have done a much better job in terms of setting the scene, in terms of what's happening in the world, why it's been happening. They have the Brian character that does a little bit of a preamble about it, but I just feel like they could have done that so much more effectively. But you know, that being said, after the first 20 to 30 minutes, this movie is a lot more gripping, and they do have a lot more intense sequences back to back, which is really cool. And so from a storyline point of view overall, this movie is actually pretty impressive. So from a cast and characters point of view, Awake actually has a brilliant cast, and they play all of their characters really well. So let's go through them one by one. So first up we have Gina Rodriguez, who is playing the lead character of Gill. She's a bit of a super mother, very protective, very tough and very loving as well, and she is definitely teaching the Matilda character how to survive in the event that she doesn't make it, which I think is really emotional. This character also takes on a lot and is very protective of both Noah and the Matilda character. She definitely will do anything and everything for her kids as well, and I think it's really emotional as well when you see the physical impact of this character kind of withering away from not being able to sleep, and this character still trying to protect her kids, which I think is really powerful. I feel like Gina Rodriguez could have given even more if the script was a little bit tighter and if the beginning of the script was a lot more stronger. But you know, that being said, given the material that she does have, Gina Rodriguez does a really good job. Next up we have Ariana Greenblatt, who is playing the Matilda character. This is an excellent child actress. She did a really believable job with her performance and was definitely on the same level as all of the brilliant other stars that are in this movie, which is really cool. Next up we have Lucius Hoyos, who is playing the Noah character, the brother to the Matilda character. I feel like they could have pushed this character a little bit more in terms of giving him more material. For example, being really jealous of the Matilda character, which they did explore, but like I said, they could have done it a little bit further. And this character is also not able to go to sleep, so it's really interesting from the Gill's character's point of view in terms of she has one daughter that is able to sleep and one son that isn't, and just the relationship that these three characters share is really, really interesting. Next up we have Shamier Anderson playing the Dodge character. You don't know if this is going to be a friend or a foe to the trio, and also this actor was most recently in Stowaway, which was another Netflix movie, so this actor is definitely on the Netflix movie bandwagon. Next up we have Frances Fisher, who is playing the Doris character. She is the mother-in-law to the Gill character and the grandmother of Noah and to Matilda as well, and I absolutely love Frances Fisher. She's got such star power and such presence, but I just feel like they could have used this character a little bit more. But that being said, for the scenes that she is in this movie, she does a really, really good job. Next up we have Jennifer Jason Leigh, who is the horrible boss of the Gill character, and I just feel like Jennifer Jason Leigh is always playing these somewhat psycho characters. She was most recently in The Woman in the Window, and in this movie she is also playing a bit of a chilling type character. And then finally we have Phil Jones, who is playing the Brian character, the second in command to the horrible boss character, and he does a really good job in terms of explaining what is happening in this world, what is happening with the sleep deprivation, the impact that it has, and the potential safe haven that all of the characters can go to, where they'll have a bit of protection and they can hopefully find a cure. And so from a casting character's point of view overall, they've actually got some pretty awesome names associated with this project, and they actually all do a really good job in terms of bringing all of their characters to life. So from a visuals point of view, you are definitely immersed into the survival horror world of Awake. So I feel like they do a really, really good job in terms of really bringing you with all of the characters along with them on this journey. And they also do a really good job in terms of showcasing all of the different scenarios that these characters have to go through, which is definitely very edge of your seat, nail-biting type scenarios, and I feel like they did a really good job in terms of really bringing all of that to life. Like I said before as well, they could have pushed it a little bit more, but that being said, from a visuals point of view, everything is looking very believable and very terrifying in this movie. So from a comparison point of view, there are a load of movies within the survival horror genre, and I don't think this movie is as good as Bird Box, World War Z, or the two A Quiet Place movies. But that being said, I think it's on the same level as Before I Go to Sleep, Regression, Stay, and Chaos Walking. And so from a comparisons point of view, I think this movie is definitely adding something new in this genre. So overall, despite Awake having a bit of a weak opening act, it definitely picked up a lot more as the movie progressed and was really, really gripping. Excellent cast performances in this movie, and I really am intrigued to see what would happen next. I feel like this would be a little bit like I Am Legend, with the characters now navigating a world where everybody else has unfortunately died. So I feel like that could be a really interesting concept, but as far as the Awake movie goes, I have to give it a solid 6 out of 10. I'd love to hear what you think, so please let me know in the comment section below. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you in my next video.